Talk Radio WRNR studios. It's time for Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob Mario and David Welch.
Thank you, Cliffy. Good morning and welcome into the program. This first segment of our show brought to you this morning by Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. When it comes to your home, auto, farm, or business, we're trusted, reliable, and experienced at Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, happy Friday to you, Rob.
It's Memorial Day weekend, baby. We made it.
We got Monday off, and as most people do, so I haven't even checked the weather over the weekend, so I don't know how it's going to be. I have not paid much attention to it. Here and there, I've heard maybe some rain, maybe not. I don't know.
Do you know the beginning of the Doors' Riders on the Storm
song?
Sure, I
do, yeah.
Rain sound effects?
Yep.
Little thunder and lightning in the background?
Absolutely. One of my favorite groups of all time.
That's your weekend.
That's the weekend, huh?
That's your weekend.
Is it Saturday too? Supposed to rain? Is it forecast?
Sunday's worse than Saturday, according to what Bob says.
Okay.
But if I put, as I say, the math to it, here's the deal. Starting Saturday, 30% chance of showers, then a 60% chance of thunderstorms. Saturday night, the same. Sunday,
30% throughout the day then.
Saturday, yeah. Sunday, 60% chance of showers, then a 70% chance of thunderstorms. Monday, 50% chance of thunderstorms.
Okay, so Saturday, then there's a 70% chance it won't rain. How's that for optimism? We've got a big outdoor event planned tomorrow for our family, so I need to think that way.
Well, they're saying about a quarter of an inch of rain on Saturday by day, but higher amounts if you get the thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Sunday, showers likely, maybe a thunderstorm before 2, then showers and thunderstorms likely after 2. So you're probably, if you escape it before 2, you're probably going to get it after 2 on Sunday.
That's just about when we're going to be kayaking out on the Cape and River tomorrow afternoon. So that's not great news for us, I guess.
Well, don't bring anything metal.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Is your kayak metal?
No, it's not.
Is it wood?
No.
Is it inflatable?
No.
What else could it be made of?
Plastic, maybe?
That's a possibility.
Yeah, I think. All the kayaks are plastic.
Okay. So you're good on plastic.
Right.
Except for the whole water thing.
Right. Well, it just seems to me that Memorial Day weekend over the past several years has mostly been bad weather.
Is that true?
I don't know. It just seems that way to me. Okay. I have no clue. It feels that it has been not the greatest weather generally over the last few Memorial Day weekends.
We always have a neighborhood thing on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. I grill. I say we grill. I grill. And for the most part, I seem to remember pretty good weather.
Oh, okay. So your memory is different than mine.
For the Sunday. The Monday is different, but I'm talking about the Sunday.
It's funny how memory gets in the way of facts. You always have to go back and kind of Google it. Memorial Day weekends over the past 5 years when we get a break. Sherry, can you do a report on that and get it into us?
Sherry Dieter Davis.
So today is our Political Friday. We usually, almost always, in fact, bring an astute group of people around the table here today to discuss current events in politics. Today, Mike Caryl and Jason Barrett, left and right, will join us. And then we've got anchoring over here in this seat beside me, our Thomm of the NRA will be in.
Arthur is in the house.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. So we'll get their insights on probably a number of different things, maybe what happened or didn't happen in the special session in the legislature earlier this week. Jason, of course, was there, and I think everybody followed it pretty closely. Maybe get their insight on the president's cancellation of the talks with North Korea and how that plays out politically. Just throwing out a few ideas there.
I want to make a note of this before we get heated up in the 8:30 hour and go through 10, and I don't get a chance to say it. Today is Friday, May 25.
Yes, it is.
Okay, May 25. 2 years ago, I was in surgery to have a cancerous tumor removed. It obviously went successfully because I'm still here.
And that's not just a memory, that is a fact.
That is a fact.
That's a factual memory.
2 years ago today.
You don't forget dates like that, do you?
No, you don't. I'll tell you, there's 2 dates that I remember with that: the day of the diagnosis, the day of the surgery.
And so when is the anniversary of the date that you made me cry on the telephone? That's a very personal moment, by the way. I just let it out, okay? There's no crying amongst brotherhood, is was there?
I was so heavily drugged, I don't remember the date, but I know it was finally after I was discharged, and I came clean with what the previous week and a half had been.
And you upset me so badly. I walked in the kitchen and Debbie just said, "What is going on?" And then I later find out that your son took your phone away. So you can't call your friends anymore, Dad.
You know, they tell you when you're sedated like that, you're all the narcotics are still cruising through your system, that you don't remember sometimes. But the thing is, while I was in that moment, I was aware of everything that was going on. But in the aftermath of that, you don't remember as much. Like my wife tells me...
Because you're so heavily sedated?
Right.
Yeah.
And my wife tells me that people came to visit me while in the house in the first week that I'd gotten back out of the hospital after getting put back in the hospital, right? So she said, "Oh, yeah, Thomm." And my neighbor Thomm, he's a guy he's a retired Maryland state trooper. He's in his 40s, been through a ton, has had brain surgery to have a tumor removed, had thyroid cancer surgery. He's been through a lot himself. He came by to visit me, and my wife said he came by twice to visit me. I said, "No, he didn't. He came by once. He stayed for like 5 minutes." She said, "He was there twice for like an hour."
Yeah.
I said, was I sleeping or something? Because I remember one short visit, but not the second one.
When my son had his accident that resulted in the traumatic brain injury, 5 or so years ago, he had been, as I've talked many times, had been in a coma for about 30 days at the neuroscience ICU at Jersey City Hospital in New Jersey. And when he came out of the coma, they moved him immediately over to about 10 miles away at a rehab hospital. And he'd been there for a couple months now, and it came time to put his skull back on, right? Because they had taken it off, and they had preserved it. And now it came time for pretty serious surgery, actually, when they put the skull back on. So they put him, he's now conscious, back into the same neuroscience ICU that he had been in when he first got the accident. And while he was there for a month, the whole staff, nurses, doctors, everyone just fell in love with Pete. I mean, he's in a coma, but it was the constant flow of family and friends, and just that he's just such a sweet boy. I mean, they just all fell in love with him, all rooting for him to make it against all the odds. I mean, he was like a little hero in the unit there for a month. Mm-hmm. And usually people don't stay in ICU, I guess, for a month. So he was there for a long, long time, even though he wasn't conscious. So he comes back, and everyone's dropping in to say hello to him. All the nurses, all the staff, the janitors, everyone in the ICU unit. He doesn't know any of them, right? Because he has no memory of even being there. But he'd say sometimes, "I feel so badly that I don't know anybody's name." I said, "I don't think they expect that, dude. They don't expect you to have a memory."
Well, I would say you gain a great amount of humility when you spend any amount of time in a hospital, because you have no privacy and you quickly lose your pride. Because
like the second hour, you lose your pride.
That's the first thing to go.
You lose your pride the minute you have to wear that gown with the opening in the back.
What is the purpose of that?
I don't know.
Who invented that?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I want someone to explain why you have to wear a goofy gown in the hospital with a slit all the way up in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Well, unless it's easier to get a needle into or a thermometer into or a whatever, I guess, if they have to do that. But they do it different ways.
Whoa. What entry point for a thermometer are you talking about?
Well, you know, when they take your temperature, they used to do it.
Okay, that's the arm, the mouth or the arm. I was just wondering which angle you were going at with because you know how it ties in the back and it opens?
Yeah.
You mentioned thermometer. I'm thinking.
Well, whatever it's called. Yeah.
No, but you know,
well, whatever.
There's another way of taking the temperature.
There must be a reason for it. I'm just trying to explore the possibilities here.
I don't want to explore that possibility.
I know you don't really want to think about it, but we need to get all the information out here so we can decide. We have to explore all the options.
I think we have enough information.
Maybe we should have. I don't know. We could probably Google it. Why are hospital gowns tied in the back? One of our callers has to know. Our listeners have to know.
I was out 7 weeks.
Yes,
I was told I would be out 2 to 4, but I had an infection. Mm-hmm. Which was not expected but happened, and that kind of changed the whole game. But the owner of this place, Mike Hornby, was fairly new in owning the place.
Yes, he was.
When I sprung that news on him that, guess what? But to his credit, He kept me on the payroll the entire 7 weeks. I think I had 2 weeks vacation left. He paid me for the full 7. And you don't forget stuff like that.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No.
So
And I was here every day.
you did. You filled in. You delayed vacations and whatever. I think there was one day you had to go out.
One
you
day.
had to work.
Yep, I had to do one day. Matt filled in and did the show.
You changed your schedule around. Matt changed his.
Yeah,
George changed his. I mean, everybody picked up for me, and I appreciate that tremendously. And tremendous appreciation to Mike Hornby, Mike Height, because they carried me for 7 weeks,
Yep.
5 weeks of which they didn't have to do. And
Right.
that meant a lot to me and my family, and it's greatly appreciated. And on the 2-year anniversary of that, I just felt that it was important to say that.
Very nice.
And let everybody know about the guy that owns this place and what he did for me.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of advantages to being here at WRNR. We all know what they are, but among them is the sense of family and teamwork that exists here, and it's a nice place to be. So there you go. Hopefully it's a nice show to listen to as well.
I got a text from our loyal listener, Roy, who said today marks 6 years since he's been in colon cancer remission, May 25 of 2012. Again, a day you don't forget. He also wants to know if you need a new shirt. He says it seems like you always wear orange on the show. Do you need additional colors in your wardrobe? That looks more peach to me, though.
It's kind of a peach color.
Kind
I think
of
it
shows
doesn't.
up as orange a little bit.
And I don't even think I have one orange T-shirt, Roy. So that's all. That's the only orange I have, and this is kind of a pink. But I guess it's coming up. But thanks for the offer, Roy. I really appreciate it. I wore my black WRNR shirt yesterday. I know
you
that.
can give me one.
That voice just came out of the sky.
Who is that?
It's Roy.
You got on the. Oh, you're actually on the air. I thought it was a text.
It was the text.
I heard the connection, and I was like, am I on the air or not?
Well, there you are. Roy, nice to hear from you. Do you know why there is a slit in the back of the hospital gown? Why is it tie? Why does it tie from the back?
Well, now, when I was in the hospital in 07, when I was diagnosed, unfortunately, the day of the shooting at Virginia Tech in 07, April of 07, that's when I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and the robes kept being a pain to me. So I kept asking the staff, I kept saying, why do you make it in the back when nobody can get their arms around to tie it? And they just kept telling me it's easier to do, emergency procedures when or if they need to be done.
Well, the next time I'm in the hospital, I hope that's a long time from now, but I'm going to make this commitment that I'm going to refuse that robe. I'm going to just say...
What are you going to wear instead?
I don't know. A T-shirt?
Well, then you're really going to get those thermometers real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to... I am just going to say, no, I refuse to wear that robe. I'm not going to do it. So you have a memorable day today, and Rob has a memorable day today, and I just looked up what national days are on May the 25th, and here it is. It is National Wine Day today.
W-I-N-E or W-H-I-N-E?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's I.
Wine?
Yeah,
the
wine.
drink.
The drink.
Okay.
Of course, if it was the other kind of wine day, it would just be every day around here. But we do a lot of whining. But no, National Wine Day today. Roy, I know you don't drink, and Rob doesn't drink much, so that's probably not a big deal. But it would be a way to celebrate both of your big memories today.
I would love to have a toast with Rob.
I will celebrate for you.
Life.
Amen.
Celebrate life.
Amen, brother. I do have the occasional glass of red wine, especially if it's a Sunday and I'm breaking out spaghetti or baked ziti or lasagna or something. Mm-hmm. Got to have the glass of red wine.
Yeah, absolutely, you do.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, if I break out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I have a glass of wine. So it's I don't wait for the food.
Kind of broaden that. Sometimes with a steak too. Roy, thanks for the call, dude.
You all need to try my protein sandwich.
What's that?
Peanut butter and tuna fish.
Oh, that just really doesn't.
You know
sound
what,
good. That does
Roy?
not sound good
Thanks for calling. It's a nice to have you this morning.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it. I was trying to make you day.
Maybe you can get back to us in June sometime
with a better recipe.
Oh, gee, thanks, guys. I love you so much. I'll be in to pick up my T-shirt. Thank you.
We thought you did until you suggested we eat peanut butter and tuna fish. Just the thought of that, I twisted inside when you said that. Peanut butter.
No.
Where did you come up with the idea of peanut butter and tuna fish?
You know, one day I was 6 years old.
And why?
And Mom was at work. And, of course, my dad was paralyzed at that time from brain cancer. So we had to fend for ourselves, so to speak, as kids. And there was 6 of us, 5 boys and a girl. And I was hungry one day, and Mom wasn't home. Of course, Dad was in bed, paralyzed. And I'm like, shoot, I'm hungry. And I just mixed it up and ate it. And from that point on, I've been eating it for 50 years now.
You need to stop that, is what I'm saying.
Hey, high protein is good for you, fellas.
Yeah, I know, but it just doesn't sound right.
Okay, Rob, if I bring one in on Tuesday, I'll split it in half.
No.
I'll make it, and we'll both eat it, okay?
There are some things I just won't get adventurous about, and food is one of them.
Yeah, that
Rob,
really.
come on, hook up with me now.
You can revoke my man card. You can call me all kind of names. I won't do the peanut butter and tuna fish.
No, you're my brother from another mother.
I know it, but I like peanut butter separate. I like tuna fish separate. Together, not going to happen.
Here's an explanation that I tell people when they say that it doesn't sound good to them. Think about it this way. If you sit down and eat a peanut butter sandwich, and then maybe 15 minutes later you sit down and eat a tuna fish sandwich, isn't it all going to meet together at the end anyway?
Yes, but past the taste buds, and the taste buds are the first filter of what goes into the stomach after the eyes, and the olfactory senses. Right, the taste buds come next.
Well, that's the beauty.
Correct.
That's the beauty of Mexican food. I mean, all it is, it's just really
Mashed
one
together.
meal prepared 100 different ways when you think of it.
Exactly. Dave, well said, yeah.
Sherry has said, I just got a message from Sherry. OMG, this must end now. So, Roy, you've been.
I snitched on you all.
If this was the Gong Show, you'd get the gong. If this was Showtime at the Apollo, the big hook came out and dragged you off stage.
And when you get in trouble with Sherry, you know you're in big trouble, dude.
Well, I just told you I was talking about her. That's all I said. Guys, I'm going to let you go. Y'all have a blessed Memorial safe weekend. And
too.
Take care of yourself.
You know, I got to say.
Don't you love it when a caller says he's going to let us go?
That may be true in that case, too.
Right.
In that situation, when he mentioned that, my first thought was, ugh. You know?
But it's warming up on you now, isn't it?
No, it's not. That's the thing. It's not growing on me at all. You know, like I had a mayonnaise sandwich when I was a kid.
That's gross.
Because that's all we had in the house one day was bread and mayonnaise. Ugh. So I had a mayonnaise sandwich. And if you do that, by the way, if you like mayonnaise, with a little bit of lettuce and tomato,
that's not bad.
Then you can actually, that's like a vegetarian sandwich, basically,
right? I get that, yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. So you can kind of get by
have
with
a salad with bread in a way. Yeah, I mean,
right.
It works.
And then I had sugar, like a sugar sandwich, where, like when you were a kid, did you ever do that, where you just took like granulated sugar and just put it all over your bread and
cinnamon
that way?
Yeah, cinnamon. And we do it on toast a lot.
Yeah.
Cinnamon and sugar toast.
See, my mother would never buy sugar-sweetened cereals. She didn't buy Coca-Cola. She just wouldn't buy sugary products.
She was ahead of her time.
Right. So we ate Corn Flakes, Rice Puffs, Cheerios, Rice Krispies. Well, they weren't sugar-sweetened, but then we'd go to the Sugar Bowl, and as a kid, for whatever reason, you love those extremes in flavor, so you'd grab like 4 inches of sugar and just put it all. I mean,
absolutely. That's what we did. If Mom bought us the unsweetened cereal, we just go to get the sugar bowl out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you'd have milk at the bottom of your cereal bowl, but there'd be like an inch of sugar.
Yeah, it'd be great. Sweet milk. Sure, you just drink it out.
Then you drink it, right?
Yeah, right.
And it defeats the whole idea of not buying sugar-sweetened cereal.
Absolutely. In fact, it's probably worse, I would imagine.
And you think about, like, as a kid, so many things are marketed to you that are sugary, right? And then for Halloween, they eventually gave up, and they just came out with the pixie stick, which was essentially, let's put colored sugar
in a straw.
And
just suck it down.
Give it straight to you.
I love those things, though.
So there's no pretense whatsoever about how you're getting your sugar.
And then they'd turn your teeth like yellow or your blue or whatever.
Exactly. The pixie stick.
Yeah, your mom knew if you'd been into them because your teeth turned color or your tongue.
That's just kind of like the crack of candy when you're a kid.
And you know what, Rob? We all lived through it. We didn't die.
Still here.
We did not die.
We got a lot of cavities.
Yeah,
though.
that's true. We drank out of the hose. Remember, we were talking about the health department guys, which great segment yesterday.
Kara Harding yesterday and Bill Kearns.
Talking about water and pool. We used to drink out of the hose.
I'll tell you something really gross.
What would they say about that now? You'd probably get a citation.
When I was a kid playing football, water breaks were not what they are now. You got about maybe 2-3 water breaks per practice, and we practiced for about 3 hours. But the water break was defined as this. The fire department would put a hose out and just run water. And you'd have to, when they'd send you, and this is back in the day when in the fall everybody played football. There wasn't soccer or lacrosse, so everybody just played football.
Sure.
So there's 60, 70 kids on your team. You go running over. The first couple of kids are really thirsty, so they're drinking a ton of water. After about a minute, the football coaches get ticked off that you're not all back yet, so now they come over and they get the hose, and they're like, you get about 1 second of water. So what we started doing was we take off our helmets, we pour the water into our helmets, and then we drink the water out of our helmets on the way back.
I don't remember doing that.
Think about how gross that is. Yeah. I told my wife that, and she was totally repulsed by it. But I'm still here.
Yeah, still here.
I wouldn't do it today, but I'm still here.
Exactly. I mean, so much has changed. Play dates and everything else. Did you ever have a play date when you were a kid?
No, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah. I think that word came in much later. Play dates.
You know where that came from?
I have no clue.
When you stopped being allowed to just kind of go outside on your own.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
To play, because parents were afraid that their kids would get abducted and
even our
bad
kids.
Things would happen.
Even our kids. We have 3 X-Gens and 2 Millennials, and they didn't even have play dates. So that really came fairly recently, the whole play date thing.
Yeah, when my boys were, so we're talking about late 90s, early 2000s, I remember the play, hey, does Dominic want to come over and have a play date with, whatever today? Does that mean I drop him off at your house?
What does that mean? Can he walk?
Yeah.
Can he ride his bike?
But the answer, yes. You drop him off at your house. But then you're expected to reciprocate, which I was,
No, I didn't like that part.
8:31, our news break is coming up next here on Talk Radio WRNR. Then the crew joins us here with Mike Caryl, Jason Barrett, and Art Thomm.
I've got a wild and restless
CBS News special report.
Harvey Weinstein walking into a New York police precinct station this morning to surrender himself to charges of sexual assault. WCBS's Sean Adams there.
It did seem that Harvey Weinstein had a bit of a shuffle in his step. He sort of looked down. He sort of looked like a man under a tremendous amount of stress. It looked like he was strained to get his foot up. There are 2 steps to get up into the 1st Precinct police station here.
There are multiple accusers. Dermot Shea, NYPD Chief of Detectives.
I'm not going to give you an exact number, but it's more than one. We have several complaints, and it's actively being investigated.
Harvey Weinstein has enjoyed a privileged lifestyle. Today could be seen as his day of reckoning. New York Times correspondent, CBS News contributor Jody Cantor.
This is kind of the first time he's facing the same justice system as the rest of us.
Cantor co-wrote the story that broke the news about the Weinstein sexual allegations. It earned her a Pulitzer. CBS News Special Report. I'm Jim Taylor.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey is warning people to be wary of Medicare scams that seek to steal personal and sensitive information. Scammers will pose as a Medicare representative or an affiliate and ask for bank account, credit card, Medicare, and or Social Security information, and in some instances seek payment for someone's newly issued Medicare card. More than a dozen people in the state have reported getting such calls in recent weeks. Scam activity may be increasing due to a recent transition to new Medicare cards, which contain a new beneficiary number instead of the recipient's Social Security number. City of Martinsburg offices will be closed this coming Monday in observance of Memorial Day. Normal business hours will resume Tuesday. Monday's trash collection instead will be picked up Tuesday, and Tuesdays will be picked up on Wednesday. Trash collection will return to its normal schedule on Thursday, and recycling will remain on its normal schedule all next week. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Martinsburg and the Eastern Panhandle soaking up the sunshine once again for today, with temperatures on the warm side of normal by about 10 degrees. We're looking at highs of around 85 to maybe 87. The wind's coming in light from the south. Overnight tonight with partly cloudy weather, we're down to a low near 65. And then tomorrow, some early sunshine mixed with clouds. Clouds will increase during the afternoon, and it's likely that we'll see at least a scattering of showers and a couple of thunder showers. Highest temperature 85. More of the same for Sunday, a cloudier day overall, and still that good chance chance of afternoon rain. The high temperature near 84. Showers on Monday, too. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
The Wellness Center at Berkeley Medical Center introduces a healthy way of life. It's not just another diet, but a weight management program developed by the Wellness Center that includes metabolic testing, a simple 10-minute breathing test that determines how many calories your body actually needs, followed by working one-on-one with a health coach to develop a personalized mix of exercise and nutrition to tip the scales in your favor towards successful weight loss. A lifetime of good health awaits at the Wellness Center. For more info, call 304-264-1232.
When you do the same thing for 135 years, you learn to do it well. For 135 years, we've been helping families through the hardest times of their lives. That's because we're a family as well. When your family loses a loved one, we're here to help. We're Brown Funeral Home in Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson. We're here when you need us.
Thinking of trading your car for a new one? Consider donating your used car to the Good News Mountaineer Garage for a low-income family needing transportation to work or school. You get the maximum federal and state deductions allowed by law with your donation to the Good News Mountaineer Garage, and your car donation can really change the life of a West Virginia family. Call 1-866-GIVE-CAR or go online at goodnewsmountaineergarage.com. Good News is partially funded by the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Common Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg.
The Honda Memorial Day sales event has brilliant deals on our most popular vehicles, like the Civic, Fit, and Pilot. It's the perfect way to start summer across America. From the Liberty Bell to Hollywood, and even back up to Niagara Falls. So start your summer with the 2018 KBB.com Best Overall Brand during the Honda Memorial Day sales event. Now at your Honda dealer.
Miller Honda south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 brand image awards from Kelley Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave and the Friday crew. Brought to you in this segment by the Washington Nationals. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB At-Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Good morning, David.
Hey, good morning. You know what's really cool? I was listening to the Nats game, I guess, last weekend, driving around on this station. And right in, like, between the third and fourth inning, there's a promo for Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. And I thought, that's really cool. I'm listening to the Nats play, and there's a commercial about our show right in the middle. And, oh, it's on our station. I had to catch myself there.
For a moment there, Charlie Slows.
Everyone in Washington, D.C. knows about our show now.
You can catch this show live on FM 106.5 and AM 740, also on your television on Comcast TV cable channel 10 in both Berkeley and Jefferson County. And we'd been asked if, in the past, if we can rerun the show on channel 10. And that may be the case someday, but right now you can rerun the show on YouTube TV. You go to YouTube and then just search WRNR TV, and you can catch a replay of the show. Usually it's up by lunchtime each day.
Have they fixed my microphone on the YouTube channel yet?
I just keep bringing your volume down.
Okay.
So if that's on me.
Because it's annoying when I watch. A couple of times I've checked it out, and like
Charlie Brown's teacher.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But the clarity of the video itself on YouTube is really good.
Yeah, not bad at all, right?
Very good.
Yeah, very nice. Also, of course, you can catch our replays on the audio side on talkradiowrnr.com, and you can link to it off of our Facebook page, too.
Which is why we say there is no excuse not to hear us during the day. We give you many opportunities.
As Bill Kearns called it, a nightmare.
A nightmare,
It's not a dream, it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
On Saturday, between 8 and 9, you can catch an hour of the best of the program. And then on Monday, we're not here, but between 8 and 10 on Monday, there will be 2 hours of best of, and that's the best of 2018 to date. So that's going to cover things like the teachers' strike, the negotiations that took place, and some of the other interesting moments. And interesting is defined by whether or not I found it to be interesting.
Why don't we do one Saturday like Jason Barrett's most embarrassing moments on the air?
Well, that'd be a short show. Oh, sorry, you didn't introduce me yet. I'm talking. Broke David's rule.
Delegate Jason Barrett, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, guys.
Everybody breaks that rule.
But it's your fault. You talk about us while we're sitting here, and you get mad when we start talking.
I own it. I own it.
Okay, as long as you know.
I'm good.
Former Tax Commissioner Mike Caryl, hello, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen.
And Arthur Thomm, NRA lobbyist. Good morning, Art.
Good morning.
Well, let's start off with our session we had on, was it Monday, Jason?
Sunday and Monday.
It was a short one, was it not?
It was. Yeah, well, we dealt with a few cleanup bills, a couple of things that were mistakes in bills that that took place during the regular session. Quite frankly, nothing really to get excited about. There were a couple of bills that were new. One of them dealt with the Department of Arts, Culture, and History. It's creating that agency within state government because, as you remember, we eliminated the Department of Education and the Arts. So what this did was it changed the name of the current commissioner, who is Randall Reed Smith. He is now, instead of the commissioner, a curator. I'm not sure that name change does really a whole lot, but he will report directly to the governor. So that the agency will. I think it helps preserve arts, culture, history, and a lot of people had concerns about that. So I think that bill was a good thing. One of the things that it also did was put the Library Commission under this Randall Reed Smith, who is, again, the curator. I'm not sure that's the appropriate place for the Library Commission to be. It was some discussion. I know members of the Library Commission are not real happy with that, but we'll just have to see. And if it becomes a problem, it's certainly something that we can go back and address in the future. One of the other bills that we dealt with, which is a new bill, dealt with EMS and firefighters who lose their life, in a fire, and this increased their benefit, and also made it retroactive because there was a fire where someone perished in that fire. So those were important to do, I think.
Do we know what the previous benefit was and what it is now?
I think it went from 50 to 100, and that's off the top of my head, but I think that's accurate. But a lot of those other bills were really just cleanups from mistakes that whoever drafted them originally made those mistakes and they weren't caught. So
I'm interested, Jason, in the marijuana bill.
Well, I was getting to that,
okay.
and there were 11 of us that sponsored a bill in the House that addressed some of the banking concerns that were brought up. The Treasurer's Office has come out with some ideas, and we worked with the Treasurer's Office to get this bill out. But we can't bring that up in a special session unless the governor puts it on the call, or we call ourselves back into special session. And there was a petition to do that. 3/5 is a requirement to bring ourselves back into special session. So
while you're still there, while you're physically there, you can do that.
Whether we're there or not there,
okay.
If we get 3/5, so we get 60 members of the House to sign that petition, then we could bring ourselves back into special session, along with, I believe it's 21, which would be 3/5 of the 34 senators. It's my understanding that the Senate did reach that magic number of 21. However, the House did not. I believe 34 of the 36 Democrats supported. We started the petition. I don't know how many Republicans signed on to that. But again, the bill, the medical cannabis bill, received 70 some odd votes during the regular session. So I don't understand why we can't get the 60 to clean it up and make it right. It really indicates to me that the amount of power that a lame duck speaker has. I just don't understand where the backbone is among some of the Republicans in the House to do the right thing.
Is it possible that the ones who are opposed to have brought this up in special session are doing it because they oppose the law generally and they're just trying to slow it down?
Well, some of them, yes, but again, it received over 70 votes, so why can't we get 60 to make it right? And that's the part I don't understand.
Because you have to deal with this part of it in order for it to become fully implementable in the state, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, we can implement the bill we passed, and that's what the opponents of the bill will say. And one of them was on this week and said, well, keep in mind, this is law, and this is going to go into effect. Well, it's flawed, and it's going to be very hard for anybody to operate a medical cannabis
that would have been Daryl Cole's, I think you're talking
facility about. in West Virginia. Yes, absolutely.
Jason, do you think that there's any, you talk about the surprising leverage of a lame duck speaker, but do you think any of this has to do with positioning for to be his replacement? Because there's, I'm hearing about all these, wannabes, factions, and teams. And
the day that Tim Armstead announced he was not going to seek re-election, everything that in the Republican caucus in the House was done about that speaker's race. Every move that was made by someone that thinks they can be the next speaker, every move they made was to help reach that goal of being
Of course,
speaker.
they will all deny that, but
and in their defense, if it would happen to the Democrats would have done the exact same thing. I'm not saying that the Republicans are doing something the Democrats wouldn't do. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just the way that it works.
My feeling is if you're going to drive 300 miles or so to get there, you might as well be speaker, right?
Well, yeah, except that all of them don't have to drive that 300 miles. They have 300 yards in a few cases.
That just reminds me of an old friend I used to have said, I don't mind going to meetings as long as I'm running them. So
that's the way I feel about having a show.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah, we're here with Jason Barrett, Mike Caryl, Art Thomm, and of course David Welch too. Your calls are welcome at 304-263-6540 or 304-263-6586. When is the next special session, Jason?
Well, that will be up to the governor. I don't see that we have the votes to call ourselves back, so the governor will make that decision. We have interims in June. Those dates, I think, are somewhere around the 20s of June. It's possible that he could call us back into special session. It's my understanding that after we left in the past couple of days, the governor is in some talks about the medical cannabis issue and trying to see if we can make this right. So it is possible that we can address that in June, or we have interims in July and August, and basically through the rest of the year. It would really be my preference that we get in there and we correct this before the January regular session, because there are going to be things that we have to deal with in January, and I'd really like to get this hurdle out of the way and not allow medical cannabis to just totally dominate the next session and not be able to address some of the other things that we need to address.
Is it possible that a vote against calling yourself in a special session to deal with the banking part of the medical cannabis bill, could that be construed as a vote against medical cannabis in the general election?
I think it could be, and I'll give you an example of history of that.
It's a bit of a stretch, but
well,
I mean,
it is.
Campaigns do funny things, as we all know.
But a few years ago, a very similar situation, that there was the 20-week abortion ban that Governor Tomlin vetoed. Then there was a push from West Virginians for Life to have the legislature call themselves back into session to override that veto, and a lot of members didn't do that, and the West Virginians for Life attacked them for that exact same example. So if it was good enough then, I think it's good enough now.
If you don't get better direction as to what the Attorney General of the United States is going to do about the banking issue, Mike, Jason, what, from a state legislative standpoint, can you trust yourself to do?
Explain that a little better for me. I'm sorry.
Well, when we spoke with, I think it was Daryl Coles earlier this week, he had mentioned Jeff Sessions and potentially a more aggressive stance toward states and recreational marijuana and the handling of the transactions, right? We already know the banking issues that have to deal with this because of the DEA's stance on marijuana. So there's a fear about how to handle the money on this, and the banks don't want any part of it. So until you get better direction from Jeff Sessions as to how they're really going to pursue this, what as a state can you trust yourself to do legislatively to handle this money?
Well, I think that's a bit of a cop-out, because there are 28 other states in the District of Columbia that have, some form of medical cannabis, or in some cases even or adult use cannabis. So, I think there are ways around it. I think there are plenty of...
Well, what's a way around it? Credit unions?
Well, credit unions, Colorado does. Ohio has worked out a way around it as well. So to say that we just can't do it, in West Virginia, we've tried to fight the federal government all the time on EPA regulations and other things. And a lot of those times I think we're right, and it's federal overreach. Well, here's one time where we're saying, oh, it's the federal government. We can't take them on. We have to listen and do what they say. Well, these situational principles get really old. You can't use them when it benefits you, and then, now that he and others that don't support medical cannabis are saying that's the federal government's fault, we can't do anything about it.
But aren't the banks the ones that are leading the charge with concerns about the handling of the money?
Well, they are, and we have figured out, I believe, a way around it. The Treasurer's Office supports, I think, the banking community supports. So, again, let's fix the problem, but there was no willingness to do that.
The recent ruling on sports betting was by the U.S. Supreme Court was a strong statement in favor of states' rights.
Yes.
So that should give more comfort than just add to the view that these banks and I'm speaking purely for myself, not as a member of our firm, because our firm represents a lot of banks and associations, but they are under state law. I mean, they're also subject to federal law in terms of the FDIC, and some of them are, of course, national banks. But state law is very important, and I would hope, particularly with the successful patterns of these more than half of the other states, that would be sufficient to go forward, and as long as the legislature conforms the statute to the rules in these states where it's up and running.
Yeah, I mean, I would see it the same way. I mean, I just keep coming back to, for those who opposed the legislation in the first place, they're still opposed to it, I would imagine. They haven't moved off of that. And we see in politics all the time delay tactics, as they say, to slow it down or to do something to make sure that it doesn't come all the way to fruition. I suspect there might be some of this going on, but I don't know. Just kind of reading between the lines here.
Yeah, I think that the end result is the federal government has to finally step in and reclassify marijuana medicinally, pull it off to Schedule I narcotic, so that it releases everybody from being able to have these complications.
Maybe they could make a trade. Maybe they could take fentanyl. It's currently a class 3 and move it to a 1, and move cannabis from a 1 to a 3 and just do an equal trade.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
well, and I still don't understand. There's all kinds of prescription drugs. I mean, that's how we got the opioid crisis in the first place. That are that you can prescribe and sell and so forth, if it's done in a context of a prescription in the system.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Why won't the federal government wake up and look at this? I don't understand.
Why is marijuana any different?
Right. And when I look at it, and I'm not necessarily a fan of recreational marijuana. I don't know if I care. The libertarian part of me.
But you look just like that guy on the little papers there. So just throwing that out.
My side job. Yeah. So but when it comes down to medicinal marijuana, I cannot see how that's any worse than any of the narcotics that are out there now.
All right, what's the tie-in with firearms and the concerns over recreational marijuana or medicinal marijuana, if there are still any?
There's major concerns because the federal government currently classifies it as a Schedule I, and on the 4473, which is the form that you fill out to purchase a firearm for the background check, the ATF actually doubled down on that form, and in bold writing, where it just
bold writing,
yeah, where it used to just say, "Are you a user of marijuana?" Now it says, even if your state has authorized use of marijuana recreationally or medicinally, it is still illegal under federal law.
Or medicinally.
Yep, and you are prohibited from possessing a firearm. So you can't purchase the firearm. If you get, the medical marijuana card, even if you never use it. I mean, even if you don't ever use the marijuana, but you get the card, that right there can disqualify you from lawfully purchasing a firearm.
What's the agency that classifies the drugs? Is that
the DEA?
DEA. Now, can they change that on their own, or does that require congressional action?
I'm not sure, but I believe it can be done administratively.
Okay, so back to the firearms tie-in here. Considering the number of gun owners we have in this state, in this country, and the number of marijuana users we have in this country, I'm guessing that some people are lying on that form in order to get a firearm. So by lying on the form, I assume that's a federal offense?
Lying on the form is a federal offense, yeah.
Okay, so what we're creating criminals out of something that many states are trying to decriminalize, or at least allow easier access to for medicinal purposes. So we're actually creating criminals out of this.
That's true.
The federal government is. The federal
Yeah.
government.
I didn't mean us five on this show.
Well, I want to make sure you didn't mean.
fit.
I just want to make sure you didn't mean us as in states,
No,
because
no.
this is the federal government flexing its muscles over the states. Now, Art, if what about a private gun sale? If you were to sell me a gun, do I have to provide you with that form, and do I have to tell you whether or not I use medical cannabis?
In the state of West Virginia, you do not have to. Private sales, person-to-person sales, do not require you to fill out a Form 4473 or the background check. The reason for that, a lot of people say, well, that should be done. The reason that it's not required is because a private person is not a federal firearms license holder. They cannot call in the background check. They can't do it.
Right.
So,
Didn't the Manchin-Toomey legislation in the U.S. Senate seek to address that
and what
issue of sale between private parties?
Yeah, that's one of the pieces. And what some of them would do is have you send every private sale to a gun dealer in order to be able to, to complete that transaction, which is ridiculous. It has shown that it doesn't help anybody. In fact, the Brady bill has shown that it hasn't, in the big picture, helped a lot of people. They're not enforcing a lot of these people that are actually falsifying the Form 4473. They're not going after these people and convicting them. So a lot of it is, just for, pomp and circumstance, I believe. But either way, Jason, to answer your question, as long as you don't reasonably believe that the person that you're selling the firearm to is illegal to possess the firearm, you're fine. If you knowingly sell a firearm to someone that you know is prohibited from possessing a firearm, that is a crime.
Is the federal database such, Art, that a person who has a medicinal marijuana card and then applies for goes through the process for a gun, fills out the form and says maybe they lie on the form, is the federal database to the point where it cross-checks and can identify one person who is a medical marijuana card holder and applying for a gun and red flag it, so to speak?
Yeah, in some states, as long as the states are properly reporting their prohibited persons list, which West Virginia does a pretty good job with, and several states do. A ton of states do not do well on reporting that information. But yes, if that were to roll in, then it would roll into their prohibited persons list and should be reported to the federal government to be placed on the prohibited persons list federally. And then, to my understanding, 2 years afterwards. So even if you were to surrender that medical marijuana card, today, it wouldn't be 2 years and a day from today that you would be able to lawfully purchase a firearm.
Are there any restrictions on a person who gets a DUI, for instance, from obtaining a firearm?
Yeah, there is at a certain point. One DUI isn't going to create a prohibited person, but a habitual drunkard, someone that has 3 or more DUIs, that's in the state of West Virginia, that will prohibit you from being able to purchase or possess a firearm.
So if you have that many DUIs, for example, the judge could say, do you own any goods? And I said, yeah, I own 5 of them, and they could go take them away.
No, well,
because you already possess them.
Right, essentially. But the thing is that you would automatically become a prohibited person. So if you were found to have had firearms after that fact, you could be charged with possession of a firearm illegally.
All right. Jason, will there be any type of special session about sportsbook betting?
Doesn't appear so.
Are you anticipating one?
I don't think so. I think right now that the lottery is coming up with rules for the casinos. I believe that it's been made very clear to the governor that the legislature is not supporting the integrity fee. So I don't expect a special session. I think that we have the premier legislation and law in the country. I think we're going to be the first ones online, with the exception of Nevada, to have real sports betting in the country. And I think it's one thing that we've done absolutely right. And there's the horse out of the barn. There's no sense in going back and changing something that we've done right.
If the casinos come to an agreement with the professional leagues and the NCAA potentially about some type of exchange of fees for information. Does the legislature or the governor need to get involved in that in any way?
I don't think we have any role in that whatsoever. In the case that the leagues have been making is that they have data, whether it be statistics or whatever, that are official, and that's the official statistics and data that has to be used by the casinos. Now, Nevada doesn't use official data from the sports league. So why does West Virginia? So, again, as we've said so many times on this show, I think this is just a way for the leagues to get their hand in the pocket. But Nevada has shown that it's not necessary, and West Virginia will show that it's not necessary.
What about any NCAA pressure? You aware of any other than what we heard from West Virginia and Marshall when they had that little powwow down there?
No, I haven't heard of any. I think their leverage is minimal, and I don't think that any members of the legislature are buying it.
All right, so what can we expect before football season starts? An actual work in progress?
I think by September 1, you will be able to pick your phone up and make a wager on one of the various apps that the casinos have. And there should be, my understanding is there should be one app per casino, so that would be 5, so that, on September 1st, you'll be able to pick your phone up and put $500 on the Steelers winning the Super Bowl.
You have to physically be in the state.
Yes, you have to be inside the state, but you'll be able to pick your phone up. So people from Maryland, Virginia, wherever will drive into within our borders and be able to make a wager.
Do you think that would be a good bet?
Yes. Do it.
My guess is we'll get a lot of border places that spring up, right? Little places if you might as well stop here, you might as well come in and get something to eat.
I was thinking about that the other day. It'd be a good marketing tool, I think.
A new life for the Rainbow Grill.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. The news is next on Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg.
You should never count your chickens.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Zoom Video Conferencing.
I'm Jim Taylor. Harvey Weinstein is in handcuffs. The disgraced former Hollywood mogul arrested at a New York police precinct, charged with multiple counts of sexual assault. More than one woman making the accusation. CBS's Matt Piper.
Harvey Weinstein will be here to Lower Manhattan Courthouse sometime this morning after turning himself into an NYPD precinct not far from here. It all follows a 7-month investigation into sexual assault allegations from dozens of women. The movie mogul and his attorneys have always maintained that things he did with women were consensual. At the police precinct, dozens of reporters shouted questions to Weinstein, but he looked forward and did not answer any of them.
Weinstein just now arriving at the courthouse. Police say he's been arrested on rape, criminal sex, sex abuse, and sexual misconduct. All of those National Guard troops sent to the border with Mexico in recent weeks, have they had any effect on illegal immigration? Live to CBS's Peter King.
Well, Jim, the Border Patrol Agents Union says the answer to that is none. But a patrol spokeswoman tells the LA Times that Guard troops have assisted with nearly 4,000 deportations, more than 1,100 turnbacks of migrants, and they've confiscated nearly 2 tons of pot. She says people replacing surveillance cameras is a plus for the patrol. The union says the use of troops demonstrates the need for more agents. Patrol officials agree, but say training takes time. Using the Guard was a quicker solution. Jim?
On-off North Korea-U.S. summit drama continues. Here's CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
A day after canceling the summit, citing tremendous anger from the North Koreans, the president is now congratulating them for what he calls a warm and productive statement. In fact, he calls it very good news that will hopefully lead to long and enduring prosperity and peace. The White House told reporters the North had recently stopped communicating with the U.S. and stood up a senior administration official at a planning meeting in Singapore last week.
Amazon Echo, the popular device in every room in Danielle's house. She says that she and her family use the Alexa app to do everything from turning on the lights to turning up the heat. Until Alexa overheard a conversation and sent a recording of that to everybody in Danielle's travel house book.
They have absolutely no right to listen and record my conversations and randomly send them to people in my address book. I mean, it's unheard of.
Amazon says background conversation was interpreted by Alexa as a command. Rising gas prices, bumper-to-bumper traffic, who needs it? Significant number of people planning a Memorial weekend staycation.
I'm going to stay local as a result probably of the gas prices and just the obscene amount of traffic that is going to be here this weekend.
AAA says at least 16 states gas more than $3 a gallon. S&P futures up 8, no, down 8. This is CBS News.
Zoom Video Conferencing, featuring video and audio clarity with screen sharing. Free accounts are available at Zoom.us. That's Zoom.us. Zoom Video Conferencing.
With the stock market at all-time highs, cash in your profits now and invest in an asset that can potentially pay for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC-defined accredited investor, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects. Call now to learn how you can potentially achieve 20 or more years of income and deduct 100% of every dollar invested against all forms of income. Call 1-800-803-8511. That's 1-800-803-8511. Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary.
It's time to join the millions of people using Zoom video conferencing. Turn any size conference room, huddle room, or executive office into a Zoom room with flawless HD video, crystal clear audio, and instant wireless sharing. It'll even work with your existing hardware. Start your meetings with a single touch or use Zoom's new voice command feature. Hey Zoom, start meeting. Huddle happy. Visit zoom.us to set up your free Zoom room trial today. That's zoom.us. Zoom video conference.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. He was charged with shooting his neighbor to death last fall, and as of a few days ago, he's out on bond. The Journal reports Joshua Newell of Bunker Hill will be confined to his home, can't drink or have guns, and has to stay away from the family of Claude Triplett, the man he's accused of killing back in October. That incident apparently stemmed from Newell's girlfriend's claim that Triplett had broken into her house. Newell will be back in court next Friday. Yesterday, West Virginia U.S. Senators Joe Manchin and Shelley Moore Capito, members of the Senate Appropriations Committee, announced more than $3.7 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families. It'll help support Head Start services in West Virginia. Musselman High School's graduation happened last night. Both Martinsburg and Hedgesville High held their ceremonies earlier in the week, and Spring Mills High School's graduation will be this coming Tuesday night at 7. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Martinsburg and the Eastern Panhandle soaking up the sunshine once again for today, with temperatures on the warm side of normal by about 10 degrees. We're looking at highs of around 85 to maybe 87. The wind's coming in light from the south. Overnight tonight, with partly cloudy weather, we're down to a low near 65. And then tomorrow, some early sunshine mixed with clouds. Clouds will increase during the afternoon, and it's likely that we'll see at least a scattering of showers and a couple of thunder showers. Highest temperature 85. More of the same for Sunday, a cloudier day overall, and still that good chance of afternoon rain. The high temperature near 84. Showers on Monday, too. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Heroin addiction, overdoses, kids' futures at risk and growing up to become drug abusers. It's a national problem. Prevention can solve it, but where do we start? The Martinsburg Initiative is our police-school community partnership and model solution to this national problem. It's based on the science of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, the traumatic experiences during childhood resulting in serious problems when they grow up. ACEs are caused by abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction, and they really matter. A child with 6 adverse childhood experiences is almost 50 times more likely to become a heroin user as an adult. A positive adult role model spending a few hours a month with a child can make the difference. A child with a mentor is 46% less likely to begin using illegal drugs. 46%. Mentors change lives. We need mentors. Change a life. Be a mentor. Call Project Director Tiffany Hendershot today at 304-267-3510, 304-267-3510.
The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building is now open. This new 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility is conveniently located off Interstate 81, exit 20 at the intersection of US 11 and Campus Drive. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills medical office building features many different offices and services for area residents. It's now home to urgent care, women's imaging center, lab services, and primary care pediatrics. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building now open to serve you.
This segment of our show brought to you this morning by the law offices of Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone, delivering first-rate service and results for our clients. Rob here along with Dave, Jason Barrett, Mike Carl, And our Thomm, too. Your calls as well at 304-263-6540 or 304-263-6586. Program note, on Monday, we will be off. The boss, Mike Hornby, giving everybody the holiday, so we'll have a best of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. It'll be calendar year to date. That'll go from when we first started after the New Year's break, Christmas break, New Year's, all the way up to now. So
it's kind of like mailing in the show, isn't it? We don't have to show up. We just sort of mail it in.
8 to 10. Right after the 8 o'clock news, it'll go. So it's kind of a true holiday for you. I actually had to put all those together and put them in, Dave. I expect a lunch for that.
I think it still should be a payday. I should have a paid holiday. You want to take a vote on it, guys?
Let's just take a collection and give Dave his money.
Yeah.
Mike, how much money you got on you?
You got a quarter?
I might be able to scrape that.
Just throw
go out and lose change in the car, maybe.
I don't mind contributing as long as I'm not paying by the word.
That's right. Fixed rate.
He just took a shot at you, Dave. You going to take that?
I am going to take it. Because he doesn't mean it.
Do you not mean it, Jason?
No.
No, never.
Even if he did, I don't care.
More importantly, he doesn't care.
I don't care.
Let's go to Korea. Mike Caryl, North Korea, the summit, the big one here in Singapore they're going to have, has been called off by the president. Is this a big deal or just simply delaying something that's going to happen anyway?
I think it's just gamesmanship. Apparently, the advanced team that they're supposed to be coordinating for North Korea didn't show up, and it's people are saying there's a nuance. The fact that the nasty pushback, particularly about Pence, came not from but from some subordinates. That's all. I mean, I think it's very likely that the Chinese are triangulating the trade issues that they're trying to work out with these peace talks. That's all would be expected, and I think Trump and Pompeo and Bolton are the ideal team that it's going to represent our interests. And so, as Trump says, it may not. We may not make any progress, much less a full, desired resolution. But we're still. There's going to continue to be talks and back and forth, and I think we're a lot further along than we've ever been in decades, and it might all work out. If in his heart, Kim Jong-un wants a life to keep power, of course. But at the same time, a life for his population that their brethren in the South have, then there's plenty of room to make a deal. And the key is whether Trump can figure out a way that makes uncomfortable that he's protected and there won't be a threat. But that's that to me that's the territory that it's all being worked on.
I'm not sure I agree with you on the John Bolton confidence level that you have of him. But having said that, I do
he's
think
the bad cop, David.
I do think you make a good point on the Chinese influence. No one knows really, but I mean I'm going to be very interested in what comes out eventually of the influence that the Chinese have on this. I think it's clear they are uncomfortable with the U.S. having a cozy. Of having this relationship, or the two Koreas coming together. I think they're very uncomfortable with that. I don't think they like that very much, because it works for them to have a divided Korea for a lot of reasons.
Well, if one of their other fears is that the collapse of North Korea in a chaotic circumstance, and all those 30 million or more. Koreans flooding north that can't speak Chinese and don't know anything about the internet. They want to avoid that too. And so a stabilized, even, semi-market economy, consolidated Korea is not a horrible thing to them. I mean, it's like a smaller Japan offshore.
I do think, though, it will come out at some point that the Chinese government is quietly working behind the scenes not to have this summit between North Korea and U.S. I don't think it's not something they want, I wouldn't think, for their own personal interests.
I don't think they're opposed to it as such. It's just what are the terms? What is the substance of the deal? I think there's opportunity for China. I think they can see it, and I think Trump can make them see it, that they will not lose anything and might even gain something.
I'm disappointed that the talks didn't happen. I think probably most of us are. I'd like to see it happen. Whoever the president is, I'd like to see, because it seems to, I think, most Americans that if that can happen and if there can be peace talks between the two countries, anything you can do along those lines lessens the possibility of there ever being a nuclear war, which I think hopefully is what we're all after here. We trust our leaders to make sure that doesn't happen. So, but I don't blame President Trump for not wanting to do this if he didn't think he was going into it with at least something, in hand. The last thing we would want any president to do, Democrat or Republican, is to go to something like this and be embarrassed, because we don't want the president to walk away with nothing. And if he felt that was going to be the case, I don't blame him, and I don't think he gets hurt politically by saying, "Nah, not right now, not ready for that." I don't think.
Well, I would agree with that. But, there are several news outlets already reporting of China's influence on this summit. But I think that your point is right about the politics of this, regarding if it doesn't happen, I don't think that hurts the president much at all. If it does happen and good things come from that, and I want to be very clear, I hope that too. Whether that helps the president or hurts the president, that's the right thing for this country, and that's the right thing for peace across the world. So I want it to happen as well, as long as something good comes from it, and no one wants on the world stage. I don't want the president embarrassed either. As much as I may disagree with him, I don't want him embarrassed on the world stage. With that being said, I think that if it happens, I think that's political gold for him. If it happens and something good from that, I think that's what the Republicans are really hoping for between now and November.
Let me ask you this. We throw this out here in regards to North and South Korea. We saw the uniting of East and West Germany, 30 years ago now, and the creation of one German economy. And with a uniting of the Koreas, potentially, at some point in the future, let's just say that this whole agreement comes forth. And let's say that years down the line, the North Koreans figure out how well the South Koreans are living, and they go, "Hey, wait a second, we want that too." So, and then eventually you have a united Korea. And I know that China has already been forecasting all this and saying potentially, what's the situation here? Does it benefit us or not benefit us to have a united Korea that has some sort of unified capitalist system that's doing well economically? Does this make the Koreas more friendly with the West, which is bad for us? Or does it give us another market for our products, and we're so close by, we have our economic influence we can put there? So long term, which is in the better interest of the Chinese, to keep North Korea poor and communist and a buffer between them and the West, or to have a united Korea that's doing well economically, that opens up another market for China's economy to export goods?
Well, China has clearly put a lot more resources behind developing the market economy, the world global economy, than they have their own national security. They put resources there, and they're rattling sabers here and there, but clearly their priority is to become a global leader, or the global leader in terms of the marketplace. And they cut corners and make dirty deals and cheat and steal our IP and everything, and
they don't have environmental standards on their manufacturing or anything else.
All the people walk around Peking with masks on, and
don't swim in the waters.
And Beijing, so I think that they would. I think they're insightful enough and have enough experience with this controlled capitalism that they operate, that they would welcome that in North Korea, even as a part of a unified Korea.
But a unified Korea that had a friendly ally commitment to the U.S. isn't. I think that's what I was saying before. I think that worries the Chinese.
Well,
but despite the good points you're making about the marketplace, and I think they are good points, I still think they might be worried about having a united Korea that would be a U.S. friendly nation so close.
Well,
to them.
they certainly South Korea is as close to the United States as Japan, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But you throw in North Korea and just the proximity, and the South Korean leader, appears to be a little flexible on getting along with everybody, not just being a U.S. ally alone. They know how dependent they are on our security.
Yeah, he's been very adroit. I think.
But if the threat is reduced, The main threat to South Korea is North Korea, not so much China. Then I think that they would move in that direction, and there would be an opening for it to become at least an equal ally of China as they are of the U.S.
It almost seems impossible for me to get myself to a place where the current leader of North Korea would ever acquiesce to any role but being the head of Korea if there was a united Korea. I mean, his ego and just his personality and his youth. He's only in his 30s. He's going to be around for a lot longer.
But he sees Xi, the head of China, has just consolidated his power for life basically, and that's a model that he probably
I'm sure he
could
loves
live
that model.
with.
Yeah,
and have a prosperous nation supporting it.
We touched on this a little bit last week, but Pelosi and Schumer were out again. This the last 24 hours, talking about the dangers of legitimizing this guy out of North Korea and saying what a disaster this whole summit has turned out to be, and egg on Trump's face, so to speak. Is this political, or was it really a bad decision to agree to meet with this guy, thereby legitimizing him?
No, I don't think that it's a horrible idea. I think it's just another ploy to try to make the president look terrible in every aspect that they can. I think in the big picture, especially with some of the issues that North Korea had been doing with their missile testing and some of the other stuff, if it at least delays that stuff, or finds a way to be able to stop some of his aggressive actions and takes us into a situation where we have to defend South Korea or our interests around that area, understanding the potential of fiasco with China. I think it's good. I think overall, at the end of the day, if we can make this happen, it's a good thing for everybody.
This is reminiscent somewhat to me of 2010, when Barack Obama was in his first term and facing his first midterm election, which was a debacle for him in 2010. But the Republicans were very upset. I mean, they would criticize anything Barack Obama did. Back then, I think it was mostly about health care. But and I think the Democrats are locked in now because of these midterms coming up, where they're not going to give President Trump an inch, really, of credit when it comes, or an ounce of credit for anything, because the stakes are too high in these midterm elections, where they legitimately have a chance to take over both houses if things fall right for them. So I think that's the political culture that we're in, a little bit like 2010. What seems different to me about 2010 is that the blue wave that we were seeing 6 months ago, which was seemingly a tidal wave, is now down to something less than a tidal wave. Now it's a blue something. Yeah, it's a blue something. They still, I think the most compelling part of the midterms as it relates to all of this right now is that, to me, watching the numbers, watching the polls in some of these districts around the country, and looking at the national generic ballot test, what's called the national generic ballot test, for our listeners, what that means is that if you get a poll question, if the election were held today, would you be voting for the Republican or the Democrat for Congress? 6 months ago, it was an astounding lead for the Democrats. It was up in double digits. Now it's a very, very tiny lead for Democrats. So something's been happening to shrink it, whereas in 2010, when you had the big movement on the right that was happening, I don't see that happening on the left right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it.
Well, I mean, keep in mind it's still May, and I'd be cautious about turning my back on a wave. But at what point, when you talk about 2010 and other years where Republicans, obviously they've been very successful all across the country in elections, and increasing state houses and obviously increasing their lead on the federal level as well. But we're talking about numbers in May, or are we talking about numbers that they had in August or September, when you could clearly see that red wave coming? I mean, did they have those numbers all year long with those generic R's versus D's? And that's my question.
But the thing that I think that may have maybe slowing some of that down is as time goes on, it appears that the national left and the liberal side of those folks are just doubling down, maybe tripling down on, and saying, not only do we want these near or flat out socialist agenda, we're going to continue to push it, and then we're going to, instead of looking to the good things and even admitting to any of the good things that our president has done. And, frankly, when he came out, he wasn't my first pick on the Republican ballot, but man, with some of the stuff that he's done, if that would have been our previous administration, they'd have been calling him, the greatest thing that's ever walked the face of the earth. And then you have, some of the high-profile liberal Democrats, out of California that are, defending MS-13 and making it sound like, they're not bad people, and unfortunately, I believe for them, and then unfortunately for folks, that are sensible Democrats like Jason Barrett. I don't know how to otherwise put that, but it makes all of them appear to be crazy, and a lot of them are not actually crazy, but coming out in defense of MS-13 is absolutely crazy.
Clearly the Schumer, and back to your original question, is as everyone has weighed in, it's political. The substantive Democratic agenda today consists of opposing Trump on anything and everything, and that's the most moderate part of that agenda. If they act familiar though, if they actually get into some specific subject matter, it's way out in the left. Even Pelosi won't call for impeachment. She just opposing Trump and criticizing anything he does, but she knows the bad politics of calling for impeachment. But there is that movement, Maxine Waters and so forth, and then there's the subject matter, the free college, the income for everybody, the raising the national minimum wage, all the stuff that
Barrett's biting his tongue here, Mike.
That they're so it's really hard for
those sound like all good policies to me.
Well,
if you've ever paid for college, the free college is.
I've paid plenty of college, and I'm against it because I've paid mine and everybody else can pay
now
theirs.
You sound like an old fogey.
Yeah, well, that's pretty accurate.
My thing about free college is, I paid mine. I'm going to have to pay my boys, and now I'm going to have to pay everybody else's too. Come on, man. I don't want to.
Right. Exactly.
Mike, I find it's so ironic that here you are talking about how the Democrats just pick on the president at all times and they give him no credit for anything, and all they want to do is attack him and impeach him. I mean, the Democrats had to listen to that for 8 years. I mean, it's no matter what Barack Obama, the guy could have walked on water and you'd have been upset he left footprints.
That's because he was terrible.
No, it wasn't just because he was Barack Obama. It was because of the policies he supported. It wasn't just the health care was a big thing, but the Tea Party, what that stands for, taxed enough already. That was
and for 8 years. You guys were looking for his birth certificate. That has something to do with a policy.
It has to do with where he's qualified to be president of the United States. But that had nothing to do with my opposition to him. The fact that he's an African American had nothing to do with my opposition to him. But that's the theme that we hear from most of the Democrats. If you're against him, you're a racist. Well, and there was a reaction to that, and that is why they turned the tide and got slaughtered in the midterms in 2010.
I think Jason has a very good point, though, Mike. In all fairness. Republicans were pretty rough on, maybe not you personally because you're a good guy, but Republicans generally were pretty rough on Barack Obama, and I don't think that they were necessarily any rougher on Barack Obama than the.
How did he get elected? Now you're talking about professional politicians. I'm talking about how did he get elected? He got elected with a lot of registered Republican votes. And reelected with a lot of because we see the districts that switched in 2016 went for Trump. Those weren't there were some blue collar Democrats.
I think that's a different. I would see that as a different topic. All I'm doing is agreeing with Jason on one point: is that the Republicans gave it to Obama and the Democrats are giving it to Trump.
I agree. The Republicans gave it to Obama, and he deserved it on the merits.
But it wasn't all about the merits. I mean, they were out here criticizing him for days because he wore a tan suit.
So
I never heard that, Jason. That wasn't widely
reported.
You watched
Fox News, you didn't hear that.
That wasn't widely reported.
Having said that, rather than getting getting into a childish debate about who did who to what, when, and both sides and all of that.
Hey, we still got half an hour to go.
What I'm most interested in is, does this strategy work for the Democrats in 2018? I think in 2010, opposing Barack Obama and the rise of the Tea Party, for whatever reason, I think worked for the Republicans, and I think Democrats look at that model and say, can that work for us? And I have doubts that the sole message coming out of the Democratic Party being, we don't like Donald Trump, we don't like anything about Donald Trump, we will never like Donald Trump, and he's evil. If that's the only message coming out of an entire national political party, even progressive leaders around the country, esteemed progressive leaders like Willie Brown, former Speaker of the California Assembly, former Mayor of San Francisco, was even interviewed this last week saying, we probably need to start rethinking this strategy. Not that he likes Donald Trump. He doesn't. He clearly wants to see Donald Trump fail. He clearly wants to elect Democrats. He's tried to send a message to his own party saying we need to be about something else, something broader, something more important than just hating Donald Trump.
I think that's what I led off with, is that the heart of the substantive agenda of the Democrats currently is to oppose Donald Trump, period.
When the Republicans took the majority in West Virginia and really ran numbers up in 2014, and they ran against Obama, they ran against they ran against Pelosi and Harry Reid, and they had this bus tour riding around. It came through Martinsburg, just anti-Pelosi, anti-Reid. I mean, that's the thing that's going on that the Republicans took. That's why they've been so successful, is because where has their agenda been when the Democrats were in charge? When Obama was president, all they did was attack him and attack Pelosi. You all have done it 4 or 5 times on this show. I'm certainly no fan of her, but that's all the Republican message is to continue to attack Pelosi and Schumer and Obama and Hillary. That's been the message for years.
And you guys ought to try that. Stick with it.
We are attacking everybody. I'll attack Democrats or Republicans, Mike. You know
I
that.
don't know. I think there's been a lot of policies introduced by the Republicans that have helped shape the agenda too. So I would tend to disagree with that's all the Republicans are doing.
This segment of the program brought to you by Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 east of Martinsburg, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. If you did not hear the Kim Commando Tech Minute yesterday about a new game being developed and about to be released June 6th, stick around. We're going to get into that coming up right after this. Our Thomm will come into play.
Fire up the barbecues and the deals at the Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Memorial Day sales event. You'll get great savings up to $12,000 off a 2018 Ram 1500. Save up to $6,000 off a 2018 Cherokee. You can drive away in an all-new 2018 Journey SE for just $234 a month. How about a 2018 Jeep Compass Sport for $252 a month? Or a 2018 Dodge Durango only $389 a month. This weekend at the Memorial Day sales event, you can get a gas card for every test drive Friday through Monday, and stop in Saturday from 12 to 2 for a cookout. And while you're there, check out the no money down specials at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. Stock number 18240, stock number 18017. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details. Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
We're talking with Joe Ferretti of Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone. Joe, how do you hire a personal injury attorney?
Rob, we believe you should look for an attorney who has a good reputation and the results to match. Ask around. We have a history of success representing folks who live here. You'll be convinced that my law firm is the one to handle your personal injury claim. Call Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone at 264-8505 for a free review of your case. Or contact us online at hfslawyers.com. At Hammer, Ferretti, and Schiavone, reputation and results matter.
This segment of our program brought to you this morning by L.A. Roberts Jewelers. Located in downtown Martinsburg, committed to excellence in quality design and craftsmanship. L.A. Roberts Jewelers. 304-263-6540 and 304-263-6586, our telephone numbers. Now, if you have not heard the latest video game that's about to be released, here is this from Kim Commando.
What I'm about to tell you is hard to believe. If you have kids who play video games, or even if you don't, listen carefully. Kim Commando with your Thursday Consumer Tech Update. There's a popular American video game creator by the name of Valve Corporation. It was created by a group of former Microsoft employees. All the kids know about Valve and its website Steam that sells and distributes games. Unless things change on June the 6th, Steam and Valve will begin selling what it calls a school shooting simulator video game. You heard me right. The game's creator says that the object of the game is to, and I'm quoting them now, slaughter as many civilians as possible in a school environment. They say it includes 3D models of children to shoot at, and that the game is realistic, impressive. To somehow justify all of this, there is a disclaimer. This game is only meant to be a simulation, so don't take it seriously. Don't take it seriously? Remember Valve and Steam the next time you hear about the next mass shooting. I'm Kim Commando.
So that was Kim Commando yesterday. We aired that in the morning, and you hear that, and the first thing that comes to your mind is that's got to be like an April Fool's joke or something. That can't possibly be true. Art, as an NRA lobbyist, I'm sure when you hear something like this coming out, this has got to make you crazy.
It's disgusting, and it's disgusting as a representative of my employer. It's disgusting as a representative of all of the membership of my organization. It's disgusting as a father. And it reminds me, if you guys think back to another game that was years and years ago, it actually copyrighted in 2002 called Kindergarten Killers. And what that game did was encouraged, you started off the game killing your kindergarten teacher, and then for whatever reason, kids pulled out firearms of their own, and your goal was to kill them, all the kids, before they killed you. The NRA and my boss, Wayne LaPierre, blasted that video game back then, talking, with the disgust of it. And, we talked about this a little bit on the air, a couple months ago, right after one of the other shootings. And when you look at when I was in the military and we went through some of the simulators, and they're even calling this a simulator, and the simulators that are used now that are way beyond what we used then, and law enforcement uses them, and the military uses them, and people across the country and across the world, and all the experts say these are some great training tools, and it's amazing to be able to do this. And then at the same time, we push these out to children that are certainly vulnerable, and the parents aren't monitoring what their children are playing and discussing with them, and having an active part in their lives, to the point where they know what's going on. And then you have the people that defend these games saying it's not the game's fault. It's not desensitizing the children to this violence. It's not preparing them for this violence. But yet does exactly that, to our law enforcement and military is ludicrous to me. But this is, again, disgusting. There should be. I'm a libertarian guy, and I believe in the First Amendment. As hard as I believe in the Second Amendment and all the other parts of our Constitution. But there comes a point that maybe capitalism in itself needs to work, and people, need to shut this down, by just not buying it and boycotting, the other games that these people manufacture or sell. To me, it's disgusting.
About a year ago, my company developed a training video for a client that was developing an active shooter software for schools to put into their schools as a safety measure, and we did 3D graphics and animation on a school shooting situation from the perspective of the safety officers and what would go on. And it was realistic enough for me. Now I'm looking at these pictures because I hadn't heard about this until just now. I looked this up on the computer here, and the pictures are just gruesome. I mean, it really, your words that you used are true times 10 from what I'm seeing on here in terms of it being disgusting. I'm also reading that several of the big manufacturers, Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox, they will not be available on those.
Good.
So I guess maybe that's a step, but they're still going to get out.
I'm going to ask a ridiculous question because I don't know anything about games or video games or anything like that. What is this played on? If it's at Nintendo and others aren't going to, this game isn't going to be available, where are you going to play this game?
I don't know.
What system are you playing this
I'm
game
as
on?
dumb as you are on that. I don't know.
When it came to the previous game, Kindergarten Killers, that was an online game, and it was actually a free online game that you would use your mouse to click and, left click aim, right click shoot type of thing. So I don't know much about gaming either. I know that both my boys are certainly like their game systems. I did when I was a child as well. One plays in one platform, the other one plays a different platform. And they sit in their rooms with their headphones on, yelling at their friends all night. Which
it's true, they do that.
Which is fine. And we sit down at the dinner table and we discuss the games that they're playing and why they're playing them and the understanding of their games and whatnot. But I know that my younger son had talked about purchasing a gaming computer, but in that it didn't accept the Xbox or the PlayStation or those platforms. It was all online, internet-based stuff, which is where I would anticipate this would be. It seems through the Stream network, if that's what it is.
So great. So kids can get home from school on a Wednesday or Thursday, and after they get tired of pornography, they can go into school shooting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is another one of the things that, as I alluded to earlier, I think that when we come to the recent, what appears to be an increase, it's not actually, if you look at the numbers, but there's certainly a lot more coverage of them. But the recent shootings and such, when we look back, the firearms have always been there. And we've discussed this on the air before, where you talk about my father's generation and certainly my grandfather's generation, and they kept firearms, rifles, hunting, in their vehicles at school, and shotguns hanging from the windows and stuff. Nobody thought anything of it. Some of the differences are, I believe, is the parenting and our active role in our children's lives. And man, just take an active part in your child's life. Make sure that you know what they're doing. Sit down and talk with them. When you're sitting at the dinner table, put the dang phones away and sit and have a genuine conversation with your children about today's events. Talk to them about some of the recent school tragedies, and about their friends, what their friends are doing, who their friends are, who their friends' parents are, what do they do for a living. We have conversations on all of that type of stuff, and if they don't know, it stimulates them to try to go find out. That, I believe, one, will make the children feel important enough that they're not trying to be out there making a name for themselves in some other way, or depressed to a point where they feel that this is their only way out. If they're being bullied or something's happening, you can find out that stuff hopefully a whole lot earlier and be able to deal with it correctly before it gets to a point where they, try to mimic some stupid video game that talks about slaughtering children.
Mike, before we go to commercial break.
The legal side of this, and I agree that economics may hopefully take care of this horrible idea, but none of these amendments, the first, the second, none of them are absolute. And at some point, public safety trumps the unbridled exercise of all those amendments, including the First Amendment. And so, but I'm hoping that the society will reject it through the economic pressure. But we can. Those kind of things can be censored legitimately, because you can't yell fire in the crowded theater, and that's the First Amendment doesn't protect that, and this is inciting to riots. It's really what it is.
So you think there is a possibility then that something like this could be struck down by courts?
I think
declared illegal. Could laws be passed to prevent this from coming?
Yes, but now the devil's in the details and the vagueness and all that. You have to you have to make a strong case that there's a real threat to public safety. But there is no redeeming value whatsoever to this, and it's only negative.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The issue with that, though, is that the United States can pass every law, and the Supreme Court can come out and say that it's ridiculous and that we're going to ban this completely. And just similar to some of the other pornographic sites that you mentioned, and some of the other very interesting, if you will, material available online, they just push it to another country that doesn't matter, and then
you get it that way.
You still get it. It's all going to the same store to buy it. It's just where it's
and the technology.
From.
The technology, is both liberated us, united us, but it's also created a huge enforcement
That's so
problem.
true. There's so many good things about the internet, but boy, there are some bad things, and every once in a while they really come to light.
Yeah, how effective is a ban? Is your number on a no-call list? How many calls you getting at night?
That's right.
There you go. Hey, this segment brought to you this morning by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Fields and Sons, family-owned, full-service funeral home, proudly serving our area since 1880. Don Blankenship's name's in the news again. We're going there next.
The Honda Memorial Day sales event has brilliant deals on our most popular vehicles, like the Civic, Fit, and Pilot. It's the perfect way to start summer across America. From the Liberty Bell to Hollywood, and even back up to Niagara Falls. So start your summer with the 2018 KBB.com Best Overall Brand during the Honda Memorial Day sales event. Now at your Honda dealer.
Miller Honda south of Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. www.mymillerhonda.com.
Based on 2018 brand image awards from Kelley Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you are a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg. Hi, this is Rob Mario. I grew up on my Sicilian grandmother's home-baked pizza. If you want home-baked traditional Italian pizza the way the Italians do it, you want Brothers Pizza. They now bake their pizza pies in a real brick oven, the old Italian country way. You see, that takes the moisture out, gives the pizza a more crispy taste. And Brothers Pizza uses only the finest and freshest ingredients. You can dine in, you can carry out, you can have it delivered. Brothers Pizza, real Italian pizza from a real brick oven. 263-3322. Dine in or delivery done right.
WVU Medicine has combined the Jefferson Medical Center and Berkeley Medical Center sleep labs into a new sleep center at the Viking Way Commons in Martinsburg. Operated by Berkeley Medical Center, the WVU Medicine Sleep Center features 8 beds with private baths and sleep number adjustable beds. The sleep center provides services that help identify and treat sleep-related disorders like snoring, sleep apnea, insomnia, narcolepsy, restless leg syndrome, and excessive daytime sleepiness. For more info about the sleep center, call 304-821-1460.
Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave and the Friday crew. Today, Delegate Jason Barrett, former Tax Commissioner Mike Caryl, and NRA lobbyist Art Thomm in studio. We're talking Don Blankenship, David Welch.
Yeah, he has declared that he will be a candidate in 2018 in the general election, running under the banner of the Constitution Party. Just for purposes that I don't understand, maybe someone else does, I thought there was a sour grapes law that prohibited that losing candidate from running again, but apparently there's a loophole here that someone else can explain. So for the purposes of just conversation anyway, I would think that he's running, as he says, primarily because he hates Pat Morrisey. And he will, I think, to the detriment of Pat Morrisey's campaign, possibly. I think Republicans are legitimately worried that he could take votes away from Morrisey in a close general election and could tilt this thing to Joe Manchin. I don't think anyone lives in the illusion that Blankenship can actually win. He cannot win a general election running as a minor ticket candidate. But what he does have is money. He has resources, and he can have an impact. I mean, it's one thing to be a minor party candidate and not have any money behind you to advertise or to do the various things you need to do to communicate with voters. But in this case, he does have that, and it wouldn't surprise me if he could get up into the 3, 4, 5% range of voters in a general election. I think that's entirely possible. And if he does, it could have an impact.
Well, he apparently hates Morrissey, which I don't understand, more than he hates Manchin.
Oh, by far.
I mean, you know, whatever you say about Blankenship, he's not a fool. He ran a big business. He cut some corners and people died, but at the same time, he's got to understand that, just what you said, that if he gets enough votes, he'll just reelect Joe Manchin, who he expressed absolute hatred for. So I think that the public will figure that out, and anybody who voted for Blankenship in the primary can't be persuaded to vote for Manchin, and he doesn't want Manchin to be senator.
Well, it's almost like Manchin's going to have an opponent, named Joe Don Blankenmanchin. I mean, it's going to be, he's running against two people here. I agree with you that the public, if you define the public, will figure it out. 95% of the public will figure it out, but 5% won't, and that's where I'm thinking that he gets, could get up to that 5% range. Wouldn't think he gets much higher than that, but I wouldn't be surprised down there where he is well known and well liked. I would imagine he could.
Which always amazed me why he's well liked in the mining community, but he created jobs, and I get a little bit of that, but he's not on the ballot yet, and there's plenty of reasons. Not besides our sore loser law, there's questions about his residency. I mean, how can you be a resident of West Virginia when you're federal
probation? You don't have to be a resident of West Virginia
to be elected senator,
or in the United States House of Representatives. You do not have to be a member or a resident of that state.
Well, that's news to me.
I was under the same assumption you were, Mike, that in order to run for a federal office from your state, you needed to be a resident of the state. I knew you didn't need to be a resident of the congressional district, but I thought you had to be a resident of the state. But I'm saying that without having looked it up or anything else.
You've checked this out.
I don't know.
Jason, where are you looking to run now? Maryland?
Tennessee.
I think Maryland would be more your state.
I'm staying in West Virginia.
The issue of whether
Rob could be your campaign.
The issue of whether he stays on the ballot or not, that will be a legal question. I just want to stick to the politics of it. Let's assume he stays on the ballot. The question I put out here is, what impact, if any, will that have on the outcome of the U.S. Senate election?
That has a huge impact. I mean,
I agree.
I think that the Don Blankenship supporters are hardcore supporters. I mean, these folks, a lot of them aren't going anywhere. Some of them will clearly, play the party line, and they'll want to, elect a Republican. There's certain, probably a majority of those. But there are a lot. If you're a Don Blankenship supporter in Southern West Virginia, and you believe he isn't responsible for the death of 29 miners, and you buy into that, I think that they're going to continue to vote for him and support him leading into November. So I think he gets probably 4, 5 to 6% that you're talking about, David, and that's extremely hard for Patrick Morrissey to overcome. And this is I believe at this point, a neck and neck race. And you throw 5 or 6% over to Blankenship, all from Morrissey. I mean, that very well could be a deciding factor in this race.
Mike asked the question, why is he so angry at Pat Morrissey? I don't know all of the reasons, but one of the reasons is I think he wants to stick it to Mitch McConnell.
Well, I mean,
and even Donald Trump at this point in time.
He's an angry man, but he clearly had it out for Manchin. I mean, his campaign theme was that Manchin basically orchestrated his prosecution, and was a big part of it. So he just angered everybody, and I think that's going to put some people off. Put a lot of people off, and I think that Morrissey will get a lot of votes, maybe even from people that didn't even vote in the primary. Obviously, there's going to be a higher turnout in the general election, and I think a great number of those people are going to vote for Morrissey.
You might be right, but I'm saying 3, 4, 5% can make a difference.
I think that you're probably right that there is a substantial opportunity for this to make a significant impact in the general election. My hope is that the Don Blankenship supporters will understand he cannot win. It's not like, oh, well, if we get enough people, he actually has a shot. He does not have any legitimate shot to win this race. and being that they're throwing their vote away, that a vote for Don Blankenship is a vote for Joe Manchin.
If you give me $3 million, I could take Rob Mario from Maryland and put him on the U.S. Senate ballot and get him 5% of the vote. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Could you just give me the $3 million instead? I'll cede 4% of that vote.
I'm just.
No, I understand.
I'm just telling you that regardless of your hope, and I know what you're hoping for, and Mike hopes for the same thing, that you want people to come to their senses, but you have to understand that this is a guy who's angry. He's personally taking it out on Patrick Morrissey for whatever reasons he has. He's going to put a lot of money behind it. And I think it will have an impact. And the only thing that potentially could balance it out is if there would be a Mountain State Party candidate that could appeal to Paula Swearengin voters, that progressive wing of the Democratic Party, to take 3 or 4% away from Manchin. I don't see that happening right now, but it could. And then you have a U.S. senator being elected with, 40,
less than 50%.
46%.
Can we call for that now? If there's a Mountain Party candidate out there, jump in.
You're letting your partisanship show this morning.
And you have the very untoward image of establishment Democrats rooting for Don Blankenship, what he's doing. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Well, yes, and that's where politics certainly comes into play. If you are one Republican, Democrat, or Independent who would prefer Joe Manchin as your senator and not Patrick Morrissey, you want Blankenship to do as well as he can, because the one thing for sure, whether it's 1% or 5%. Jason even went to 6%. 100% of those voters are coming out of votes that would have otherwise gone to Pat Morrissey.
Right. I can assure you when we talk about that, I received obviously several text messages about this, but when I received one with the article, the person that sent it to me also sent a couple laughing emojis as well. All kinds of excited that Don Blankenship was going to mess this race up and give it to Joe Manchin.
Yeah, one of the great ironies in political history of West Virginia could be the day after the election is that the one who saved Joe Manchin's bacon was Don Blankenship. Right. That would be tremendous. But that's what we love about politics, right? Is the great irony that's involved.
Well, and talking about Blankenship is maybe think about where does Evan Jenkins go from here, because he's obviously
it's an interesting question as well.
He's clearly going to leave Congress,
governor maybe in 2 years.
Well, I think that's a real possibility. I think that's probably where his eyes are set,
right? And I think he'll be viable.
I think extremely soon. I don't know what the current governor does. If Mike's party wants to nominate him, I don't know that, but I think Evan Jenkins is certainly eyeing that up. I mean, there's a lot of rumors swirling around the West Virginia Supreme Court right now. So, there some talk about a potential vacancy or two here coming very soon. So
to impeachment possibly.
Well, I don't know that, or I've been told that there's a possibility of some vacancies coming soon. I don't know whether that's true or not, but again, there would have to be an appointment process through there. I think Jenkins would show some interest in that. Possibly the Speaker, Tim Armstead, would show some interest in that. So, again, these are kind of some rumors.
I think Armstead's already declared he's going to run for the.
Well, he says he's strongly considering
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the black cloud over the West Virginia Supreme Court is not gone. It's far beyond couches at this point, I believe.
Well, when you guys keep talking about Jenkins, and I mean you're losing sight. One of the things we learned from this recent primary is that Charleston doesn't run the state anymore. That the northern half of the state geographically is 2/3 of the votes that you're going to get, and so that downstate, that's Morrissey's secret. He won 2 tough statewide races before this even came up.
Well, but if there was a strong candidate out of the northern part of the state from Mon County or from the northern panhandle, it'll look very differently. I mean, it's easy to say that, but when you look at the 3 candidates, 2 of the top 3 candidates are from southern West Virginia. So clearly they're going to split the vote. There really wasn't another strong candidate from the east or from the north. So, it was easier. And you do make a good point with Morrissey running statewide in the past, but, it's easy for him to take those votes. If there had been someone else, somebody from the northern panhandle, a viable Republican up there, or even Montague or Harrison or someplace in there, then I think that, Evan Jenkins probably would have won this race.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I mean, if you split up the northern vote,
Well, Evan Jenkins is a young guy, I'm sure he's not going to get out of politics altogether. I think he enjoyed being a member of Congress. He rolled the dice, went statewide for U.S. Senate. I don't think he's done yet. I think that there's still a career ahead of him in elected politics, and governorship would seem to me to be a likely choice.
He would be
for him.
He would be a viable candidate, but when you this point about it didn't start with Morrissey. Alex Mooney beat Nick
Casey by
Nick
a very very close margin.
who it was like a twin to Jenkins in terms of profile and reputation.
Nick Casey?
And base in the Charleston area. In fact, they had some of the same jobs at one point. But he so that I'm telling you that the candidate who's got the strongest support in the North is
Mike. Mike,
what do you say
you
about
don't like Evan Jenkins.
No,
Is that right?
No.
That's what I'm hearing.
No, I don't. I get along great with Evan Jenkins. I've known him for 20-some years, but he wasn't my candidate in that primary race.
This segment was brought to you by Bechtel Jewelers, West Virginia's largest Pandora retailer. Route 11 South Inwood, next to Viva Mexico. Get your final thoughts together next.
Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer deaths in the United States each year. But do you know the radon levels in your home? Home is a place to live, love, and laugh, not a place to breathe air containing radon. The Berkeley and Morgan County Health Departments are distributing free confidential radon test kits, and you can get yours at the Berkeley County Health Department office in Martinsburg and the Morgan County Health Department office in Berkeley Springs. Protect your home and family. Get your free radon test kit today.
It's spring, and that means golf. Hi, I'm Ron Springer, head golf professional at The Woods. Due to its overwhelming success, I'm happy to announce the second annual Tournament of Champions. If you've ever considered a golf tournament to raise funds for your organization, now's the time to get on board. Golf tournaments are fun, exciting, and profitable. The Tournament of Champions adds to all that and more. For additional information, please call me at 304-754-7222 or visit our website at thewoods.com.
Final thoughts around the horn, Jason Barrett.
Happy Memorial Day to everyone on Monday, and for all those that made the ultimate sacrifice to allow us to enjoy the weekend.
Mike Carl.
I'm going to tell David Welch I'm sorry to have been so wrong on saying the Nats were going to sweep the Dodgers last weekend. It's just the opposite. So I'm hesitant to say the Cards are going to sweep the Pirates, but I will anyway.
Art Thomm.
There will be Rolling Thunders happening this weekend in Washington, D.C. Near 1 million motorcycles will be heading that way. Please keep an eye out.
They going through 340 or Harper's Ferry anywhere?
I believe so.
All right. David Welch.
Because of the Blankenship candidacy for U.S. Senate, I am going to officially, on my Welch list, move the U.S. Senate race from lean Republican to toss-up.
It's 10 o'clock. Glenn Beck Show is next. Have a great weekend.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TheraWorks Relief.